Hello, class 6 students. How are you all? Prerna ma'am is back again to teach you social science from your textbook and from social science. As I told you in the previous class, we are going to be studying the history portion. All right, so let's first have a quick recap about what we studied in the last class. So in last class, when we studied chapter 1, we studied that how history is actually studied and why do we study history. So very important lesson or a very important thing that we learned was that we study history so that we can understand our present situation, or probably we can learn something from the past. And the example that we discussed was that if human beings would have learned from their mistakes of World War I, World War II would have never ever happened. So while we studied chapter number 1 about history, its study and sources, we also discussed about what are the ways or what are the sources through which we study history, wherein we understood that we study history mainly through two sources. What were these? One was archaeological sources and the second one was literary sources. And we also understood that in order to understand history, we divided into different time periods. So if you remember, how many time periods were there? Anyone remembers that? I'm sure all of you were attentive during that class. So there were 3 time periods. Very good. So all those who were able to recall, that's very great. So all those who were not able to, be a little more attentive. So there are basically 3 time periods. So we talk about prehistory, we talk about proto-history, and we talk about history. So when we spoke about prehistory, we discussed that this was the time period when, what had happened? When there is, it's basically a period when we do not have any written proof. So how do we know about this period? So there's nothing in written, there are no books, there are no manuscripts. So how do we learn about them? Through archaeological evidences, that is the remains of the buildings, of the toys, of the crafts, of the tools that we have found, that the archaeologists have found. So prehistory, a time period about which we do not have any written record, we only rely on the archaeological resources. And when I talk about the archaeological resources, tools is one of the evidences that we get. So furthermore, if you remember that we spoke about that in prehistory, we talk about 4 ages: Stone Age, the Copper Age, Bronze Age, and the Iron Age. So different ages, 4 different ages. Now in this class, in chapter number 2, we are going to be talking about these ages, wherein we will discuss at length. You would have also studied this probably by now at length about the different stone ages. So in this class, we are going to have a recap about the different stone ages. So let us start it. So as I told you that this is going to be chapter number 2. And what is the name of the chapter? The name of the chapter is Life of Man Through the Stone Age. So talking about the Stone Age. So let us start. All right. So as I've already told you that these were the main ages of mankind. So we talked about prehistory, about which we do not have any written record, as we have already discussed. And these are the, here you can see, these are the time periods. Stone Age from 2500,000 to 4000 BCE. Then you have Copper Age from 4000 to 3000, Bronze Age from 3000 to 1200, and then Iron Age, which was 1200 BCE onwards. So coming to Stone Age. Now, when I talk about the Stone Age, the main phases of the Stone Age, these are the 3 different or the 3 main phases of the Stone Age. One is the Paleolithic age, then you have Mesolithic, and then you have Neolithic. And here you can see the time period is also listed from how much BC to how much. All right. So this all information is something that, yes, you will have to memorize. So like in your first class, I told you that, if you perceive social science as a subject which is just about long answers or something, you will never ever enjoy it. But if you perceive it as studying stories, you will always enjoy it. So just a small tip which I want to give to all of you. So like in maths and science, you learn certain formulas. In history or in social science, you have to learn dates. So a quick tip which ma'am is going to give you today is that whenever you have to learn dates, a chapter in which there are a lot of dates mentioned, you can always make a table like this. So you can write the serial number, you can talk about the event, you can describe here and the duration or the date or the year. And you can paste this or you can place it on your study table. So what will happen every time you will sit for revising something or for studying for your exams, you will be able to see this information and it will remain here. Okay, so just like you learn formulas, you are supposed to remember dates in history. So the three main phases, Paleolithic is there, Mesolithic and the Neolithic. So let us start with the first phase of the Stone Age. So when I talk about the Paleolithic age, first let us understand what is the, what kind of man lived in this age. So the Paleolithic man, he was a hunter-gatherer, the early man as we call it, the hunter-gatherer in small groups and led a nomadic life. What is a nomadic life? When a person doesn't remain or doesn't lives a settled life. He's moving from one place to another, probably in search of food or shelter. So the Paleolithic man was a hunter-gatherer. So what he used to do was he would hunt animals for food, or maybe he would gather some plants again for self-consumption. So when this person was into the occupation of hunting and gathering something, how did he do that? So can you hunt an animal by your hand? No, right? Even the early man could not do it. So they used some weapons. So the need for weapons and tools arose due to hunting. And the Paleolithic man, the kind of tools that they used were called as macroliths. So macro means big and lith meaning stone. So this is a Greek word. Both these are Greek words. So macro meaning huge, very big, very heavy, and lith meaning stones. So the kind of tools that the man of the Paleolithic age made, they were heavy, they were very big actually in size, and of course they were made out of stone. Why stone? Because iron or copper or any other metal was not discovered, so that or invented. So that was the reason that man started using different stones for making tools. And Paleolithic the man of the Paleolithic age, as I already told you, was mainly into hunting. Now let's have a look at the major tools that the man of the Paleolithic age made. So again, Mesolithic stone, big and made out of stone. So mortar and pestle. So you might have seen that mortar and pestle is something which we still have in our homes, right? For probably grinding leaves, mint leaves maybe, or tulsi leaves, or maybe cardamom to add it into tea. So this is something that you find even today in your home. Then you have arrowheads, so you can see how sharp this is. And you have spearhead. So spearhead, we know, was a long kind of a stick. The early man would throw it so that he could attack the animal or he could hunt the animal. And other tools were choppers, scrappers, and hand axes. Apart from hunting, man used stone tools for digging the earth to find edible roots. Edible means something that can be eaten. Edible roots, and for felling fruit from trees. So, let's say there's a tall tree and the man wants to eat them, wants to relish them. So he would probably pick up a stone and throw it at the tree so that the fruits can fall on the earth and he can eat them. Something that most of us still do. So Paleolithic man, hunter-gatherer, and because he was a hunter-gatherer, he had to make tools, right? And as I already told you, that the Paleolithic tools were also called as macrolith. Macro meaning large and lith meaning stone. So large tools made out of stones. Pestle and mortar, arrowheads, spearheads, these were the main tools. So this is talking about tools. Now, what kind of a life did the man of the Paleolithic age live? So like today, how do we live? We live in a society, we live in our families. So if you talk about this era, what is happening? So earlier there were joint families, big families, all uncles and aunts and their children, they would live under the same roof. But now you have in past few years, the concept of nuclear family has really geared up. So you see small families, probably father, mother, and just the child. So talking about the kind of life that the man from Paleolithic age lived so many years back. So as you can see in the picture very clearly, this Paleolithic man, they lived in small groups maybe, but most of them stayed in a cave. Why in a cave? So at that time, there was no electricity, correct? So at night, if an animal would come to attack a human being, the life was in threat. So in order to save himself from any attack from any wild animal, the man of the Paleolithic age preferred living in cage, which he could block the entrance of. And another important discovery basically that happened in the Paleolithic age, as all of you can see the image very clearly, was the discovery of fire. Now, when I talk about the discovery of fire, this is one of the most phenomenal discoveries ever made by the human race. Why? Why do I say one of the most phenomenal? Do you use fire today? Yes, of course. It is an essential element for cooking, correct? How will you eat food if it cannot be cooked? Can you eat raw vegetables and raw fruit? Probably you can, but raw vegetables, can you eat? No. So, as I told you, one of the most phenomenal discovery was the discovery of fire. And using this fire, what exactly used to happen at this point of time? So, like we were discussing that the invention of fire, or the discovery of fire, helped man to probably move out in the dark. So I gave you the I asked you a question that like at that point of time, was there any electricity? No, there was no electricity. So the discovery of fire allowed man to move out even in the dark and maybe perform any required activities. All right, and this fire is very, very important for us even in today's life, but we need to deal with it very carefully. Okay, let's move ahead. Now, this was all about the Neolithic age. Now we are going to talk about the Mesolithic age. So when we discussed that the man of the Neolithic age, what was the main occupation? He was a hunter-gatherer. Now the second stage, that is the Mesolithic age. This is when a very important occupation, or probably a kind of occupation that we still say is India's main occupation. This started. What was it? Agriculture. So in the Mesolithic age, man started with the occupation of agriculture and rearing of animals. Why did he also started the rearing of animals? So that he could probably extract the desired products from these animals. So, of course, man could make maybe some clothes, could get milk, could get various other items for consumption. And as we have already discussed, he started the occupation of agriculture. Now, when I talk about agriculture, that means he started sowing seeds, he started planting trees. So why was he doing all of this? So probably the man of the Mesolithic age was aware of the usage of plant life. So the man of the Mesolithic age was someone who was well aware or who had sound knowledge about the flora and fauna. And because man started agriculture, what did he do? He started moving towards a settled life. So if you remember in Neolithic age, we discussed the man led a nomadic life. That is, he did not stay at one place for a very long time. He moved from one place to another, probably in search of food or shelter and various other things for consumption. But now man started moving towards a settled life. So like in Paleolithic age, we spoke about the fact that the tools were macroliths. Here, the tools were microlith. So lith, we already know, means stone, or the word derived from the word lithos, meaning stone, and micro means small. So basically now small tools. Earlier, big stone tools were made by the man of the Paleolithic age. Now man started making small tools. And these tools, they were fixed on wood or bone. They were used as spears, saws, arrows, and knives. So for performing agriculture-related activities, of course, the Mesolithic man of the Mesolithic age needed all of these tools. So after the end of the Mesolithic age came the third age. What was this about? This was known as the Neolithic age. Now, when I say Neolithic, neo meaning new, and lithic, again, we talk about stone. So the new stone age is also called as the Neolithic age, correct? And now, as we studied about the Mesolithic age, what had happened in the Mesolithic age? What was the major difference between Mesolithic age and the Paleolithic age? That was the occupation of the man. So from Paleolithic age, wherein a man was a hunter-gatherer and lived a nomadic life, he moved to Mesolithic age, wherein he started practicing agriculture. And the kind of tools were made in the Paleolithic age also differed from the tools that were made in the Mesolithic age. There was a huge difference, particularly in terms of their size. So now from the Mesolithic age itself evolved the Neolithic age. And as we talked about the occupation of agriculture, now this man of the Neolithic age was someone who was having more knowledge about the agriculture. So again, the common aspect of the occupation of the man of the Mesolithic age and of the Neolithic age was the agriculture. The common occupation was agriculture. So man started knowing about agriculture. He started understanding that, okay, these are the seeds, they need to be sown, and how they need to be harvested. So probably at this point of time, the man of the Neolithic age also saw the beautiful process of a plant growing, of a plant becoming a tree and blossoming and giving us so many products. So, when you're studying these three ages, understand that how since the time human being came on earth, the existence of human beings, they have been very much closely associated as well as dependent on nature. But the unfortunate part is that if you talk about today's scenario, we see that man is not respecting nature. And that is why you have issues like global warming, you have so many issues like pollution, so many diseases that are all over the world. So it is very important for us, if you want, so this is just a suggestion that I would like to give to my learners, that if you want to have a better present and a better future as well, please start respecting nature. It is very important. So, we say that the early man had no sense. Sorry, I'd like to correct you people here. Early man had a lot of sense in terms of dealing with the nature. Okay, so please start loving and respecting nature. So coming back to the Neolithic age. So as I told you that agriculture, the knowledge about agriculture was now more with the man of the Neolithic age. And that is why he started doing this as a full-time occupation. And now man, what did he started doing? He started clearing forests for agriculture. So understand, he did not clear forests for some selfish purpose, for creating, unnecessary huge buildings. He cleared forests so that he could plant in more seeds, he could sow more seeds, which can be used by human beings, and it is of course going to add to the nature. All right. So there was no materialistic purpose or motive as such behind the clearing of forests like we see in today's world. So now the man of the Neolithic age started using improved access. So when I talk about improved access, that means a better model. If I'm supposed to explain it to you in today's language that you use, so a better, an upper version. So like you use phones, different phones, or this is a better version. So the man of the Neolithic age also started using a better version of the axe so that he could clear the forest and converted into beautiful agricultural lands. And of course, sticks were used for digging the soil to sow seeds and sickle to harvest the crops. Now, what were the main crops that were grown by the man of the Neolithic age? So a very common crop was corn. We can see, we all have seen cornfields. Maybe we've not seen them in real life, but I'm sure you see picture. And I'm sure most of you eat this during winter. It is cooked on coal, you know, on burning coal, and it is absolutely delicious. So this crop, corn, was something which was discovered by the man of the Neolithic age. And another very important crop that is a staple diet for many people was wheat and then millets. So you know what exactly are millets? Millets are basically coarse grains, and millets is something which has all the millets. They have high nutritional value. They're very good in calcium. They're very good in vitamins. So millets is something that you should include in your diet. So corn, wheat and millets were the main crops that were grown by the man of the Neolithic age. Now, Neolithic age, occupation and moving towards the settled life. So we already discussed that agriculture was one of the main occupation and domestication of animals. So when I talked about domestication of animals is something which is done by many people in the rural areas till date. That is, you keep an animal and whatever product that animal can give to you, you use it for consumption. But in today's world, a lot of people use it for selling as well. So the man of the Neolithic age, he started domestication of animals for products like meat, for products like eggs, for products like milk, all these food items. And man, now because he was creating beautiful agricultural lands, and we know that any plant for that matter doesn't grow overnight, any tree doesn't grow overnight. It takes a few months and sometimes a few years as well. So the man of the Neolithic age, understanding this, he started living near the agricultural lands. So again, he moves from the nomadic life to a proper settled life. And most of the population of the Neolithic age, where did they settle? They settled near rivers, near banks of rivers. Why? What is the reason to settle near rivers? Because water is very important for agriculture. So the man of the Neolithic age was aware of this, and he thought that, you know, in order to regularly, maybe water the plants and take care of them, it was important to stay near the river. So the most of the population of this Neolithic age, they settled near river banks, and gradually these converted into very famous civilizations. The civilizations near river banks, which we will study in the consequent chapters. Now, Neolithic age tools. So we have discussed about the tools of the Paleolithic age. Now we're talking about the tools of the Neolithic age. So as you can see, polished axe. So this axe probably was more stronger than the axe that was used by the man of the Paleolithic and Mesolithic age. Then digging wooden stick with a stone mace head. You can see this image. And of course, a sickle. So sickle and axe, these two tools are still used in agriculture. And what is sickle used for? It is used for harvesting the crop or cutting the crop. Then, like in the Paleolithic age, the discovery of fire was phenomenal. Similarly, the invention of wheel was also one of the most phenomenal inventions of human race. Why? Because the invention of wheel made, what did it make possible? Transportation and commuting. So if you want to go from one place to another, you might use a bicycle, you might use a bus, you might use a train, you might use a personal vehicle, a car, but it has to run on wheels. Of course, fuel and all comes secondary, but here we're talking about the chariots, let's say. So the wheel, invention of wheel was, or is rather, one of the most phenomenal inventions of human race. And then man was also involved into pot making. What were these pots used for? These clay pots. Like in today's scenario, we see a lot of us using these clay pots for, we keep them in our homes during the summer, correct? Because drinking water from this is healthy. And at that point of time in Neolithic age, man, of course, used these clay pots even as a storage utensil, okay? Then what were the other changes? Of course, we know that he started living in a community that formed villages. So now man started living in villages that were made, villages which had huts, okay? And they were made from thatched and mud, of course. And along with this, trade started happening. So we know that man started domesticating animals. So you see how how every episode, how every action or everything that is happening is interlinked. So because man started domestication of animals, so maybe someone had a lot of milk but needed eggs. So what did the two parties do? So someone who had a lot of milk wanted some eggs, and maybe this person who had a lot of eggs wanted some milk. So the two met, they exchanged the commodities as per their needs, and the trade happened. And this exchange of commodities, this kind of trade, I'm repeating, this exchange of commodities between two parties was a form of trade which we call as the barter system, B-A-R-T-E-R. So why this barter system was used? Anyone can tell me? Or any guesses why barter system was there? Because there was no money. So in the absence of money, there was no concept of money, no concept of currency. Two parties of common interest, they met, exchanged commodities, right? And what were the religious beliefs? So like I was telling all of you about loving and respecting nature, the Neolithic man of the Neolithic age feared the natural disasters, and just because he did not wanted these natural disasters to harm him or the community, the man of the Neolithic age worshipped all elements of nature. So they worshipped earth, sun, moon, star, sky, water. All elements of nature were worshipped by man of the Neolithic age. And there are a lot of people, a lot of tribal groups, people who live in forests, a lot of tribal groups who till date worship all these elements of nature. Maybe you can find out about them. Now, other ages. So we talked about the Stone Age. Now, very quickly, we talked about the other ages. So this was basically the Metal Age, which was the Chalcolithic Age. And why? Because metal was discovered. So Chalcolithic Age came because metal was discovered, or the Copper Stone Age. And when the man of the Chalcolithic Age succeeded in making bronze, he entered the Bronze Age. And after that, the last was the Iron Age. So you see how man has evolved in terms of the discoveries and the inventions he has made. So it's not like, men of the ages that we have discovered, they never had access to technology, but they were creative enough to make use of available resources. And that is why, as I told you, the phenomenal invention like the invention of wheel occurred, and various tools for agriculture. Interesting, isn't it? So the story of the three Stone Age and the Metal Age is very, very interesting. I'm sure all of you liked it. Bye-bye.